Catherine Herne. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm an assistant professor of physics here at SUNY New Paltz. What that means is that I'm part of the physics and astronomy department, and I teach physics. I teach general physics, optics, other upper division courses, and our advanced lab courses. I also do research here, and I have great crews of research all the time. My students over the summer were an awesome crew as usual. And that's a big part of my role here, is working with students and really helping them become full scientists. So a couple sentences on how I got to being here at New Paltz and doing optical micromanipulation research. I started by being born, and then I got interested in making things. I always made things. I liked knowing how things worked. So I majored in physics and math at Bryn Mawr College, and then I got a PhD in applied physics at the University of Michigan. Throughout all this, it's worth noting that I was kind of a weird kid to start with, and I'm a lesbian, and I did things that were not normal for my gender. So to also study physics didn't make me all that much more weird. And what I'm pointing out here is that the science is gendered. The institution of science is gendered, and that's part of what I'm going to be talking about today. So a couple examples of how the institution of science is gendered. Recent events. On October 2nd of this year, the Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded. It was announced that it was given in two halves, one half to Donna Strickland and Gerard Moreau for chirped pulse amplification, and the other half to Arthur Ashkin for optical tweezers. Optical tweezers is my research field, and so therefore now I do Nobel Prize winning research. The other half, Donna Strickland, got the Nobel Prize in Physics, and she is the third woman ever to get a Nobel Prize in Physics. The first two were in 1903 and then 1963. This illustrates that there are very few women being acknowledged for significant accomplishments in physics. And physics is not the only field where this is the case. There are very few women noted for their achievements in science. So let's look at some statistics just to get an idea of that. And we'll start with undergraduates, or we'll only look at undergraduates. If we look at national statistics for degrees awarded by gender and major, we see that there are fairly low percentages in the computer sciences and physical sciences a little bit, and engineering. Low percentages of women being awarded undergraduate degrees in those fields. Also, it's worth noting that if you go deeper into these statistics, you'll see that only 1% of the undergraduate degrees awarded in physics are awarded to Black women. Only 1% are awarded to Latinas. And so just note that women of color are getting a much smaller percentage, or even more underrepresented. Let's bring it closer to home and look at New Paltz. The New Paltz majors last year by gender and major. We see significantly lower percentages of women in computer science, engineering, and math. Math is more equal, and physics. So that shows you that if you're a woman here at New Paltz studying physics, you are likely to experience what is standard in the scientific community, which is isolation. You're underrepresented, your gender is underrepresented in science, and that isolation can lead you to feel like maybe you don't belong. It leads to something called stereotype threat, which is the idea that when someone says, well, you know, girls aren't that good at math, you think, oh, I'm a girl, maybe that means I'm not supposed to be that good at math. And you end up kind of playing out the stereotype. So let's take a shift now and look at the institution of science, of the kinds of things that kinds of questions that we ask in science. So scientific inquiry, a good place to investigate here is to look at medical science. In the 1970s, in particular, there was very little research done that was actually done on women. Studies that were performed on what were called humans were typically only performed on men. Suzanne Morgan, who is a medical sociologist who started working at that time, says in the mid-1970s, the only guidance on health that women would see, because Our Bodies Ourselves, the publication was not yet in the mass market, were by male doctors. The message was, trust me, I'm a doctor. The concept of women scientists writing guidance based on actual research was not yet realized. Some changes that have happened around medical science and engineering that helps medical science has been highlighted in Gendered Innovations. It's a great website, check it out. So, for example, crash test dummies. Conventional seatbelts do not fit pregnant women properly, and motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of fetal death related to maternal trauma. So there are studies now being done with pregnant crash test dummies to discover how we can better serve those communities. Okay, so this should give us enough reason to understand that we should have more women in science, and women should be doing science that has to do with women. But why should I even have to say that? Women always have to prove that they're good enough. They always have to prove that they belong. The Library of Congress has a category called women scientists, but it doesn't have a category called male scientist, because scientists are just men. So we have to say we have to specify when someone is a woman scientist. So let's move past that. What I want all of us to do, what I want to call you to do, is to challenge stereotypes. Look around you. Notice when communities, underrepresented groups are isolated. Form clubs, form student groups, build connections. As a professional, look to hire folks who are underrepresented in your field. Hire more women and women of color in our fields in science. As we do that, our culture will change. It'll take a while, but our culture will change. So let's all be the force that creates that change. Thank you.